I didn't think this was possible, but for the first time in Pokemon Sleep, recipes are getting modified. In the past, we've only had new recipes and new ingredients being added to the game. We've never really had existing recipes being modified or rebalanced. So it came as a surprise to me that there's a slight meta shift in dish cooking. Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video, it's Bro Vinny here. Let's cover a few changes that are coming to the game first. Number 1, after 4.5 months since the Trial Bundle Volume 1 was released, which is this one here, that was released in February 29th, and it was always going to end on the 8th of July. But nobody really knew what was going to happen after the 8th of July until now. And as it turns out, they plan on just keep selling the trial bundle, which is great news for a lot of minimally spending players, because with the trial bundle, and I covered the numbers for this before, so I won't go through it again in this video, you get an over 80% saving compared to just straight up buying things from the diamond shop, which is almost double in value compared to other value bundles you can buy in the game. The only catch is you have to spend real money. You can't just use diamonds. So that means for those who are completely free to play, who don't plan on spending 1 cent in the game, then this won't matter at all. But for everyone else who spends at least a little bit, this is an unmissable deal. The items between the first trial bundle and the second trial bundles are actually the same. You get 500 diamonds, 10 poker biscuits, and a good camp ticket. And as you can see, for Volume 2, you get exactly the same items. But one thing is strange is that the availability period for Volume 2 is quite a bit longer than that of Volume 1. So if you're relying on buying these bundles in order to keep you progressing in the game, well, unfortunately, it seems like you can only get about 2 of these trial bundles per year. And the availability period between the 2 bundles are not exactly the same. So it'll be quite a lot longer before we see Volume 3. Next up, we've been teased on the anniversary event. Do all these Kanto starters and Eevee Pikachu mean anything? Does that mean they're the star of the show for the anniversary event? Who knows? What we do know from this early bit of information is that it will be a 2-week event and it will begin mid of July, July 15th. And Pokemon Sleep is giving away free sleep points for the 1 whole week prior to the event. So starting from the 8th of July, every day that you log in, you'll get 150 bonus sleep points. So that totals up to 1,050 sleep points, which to be fair isn't actually a lot, but I'm hoping the actual anniversary event, we will see even more giveaways. You will be able to receive these gifts via the gift box in the game. Alright, now on to the more juicy part of this video. There's going to be an update on the 8th or 9th of July depending on which region you live in, and there will be a number of new features being added. There will be a display option for the pop-up that appears for when Snorlax's rating goes up. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds like we can now skip the Snorlax animation, which takes a minute sometimes to get through. Preparation of the anniversary festival, that usually means that data miners will be able to access some of this information early after the maintenance in order to give us a heads up of what might come. We already talked about the trial bundle being added. They are finally going to speed up the loading time in the game, and I'm hoping it improves enough that it stops being annoying. The loading time is ridiculous for such a simple app. But I'm going to keep my expectations low here because I don't want to be disappointed. Somehow they're going to reduce the power consumption when you're using your phone to track, which doesn't affect the plus players, but for those of you who use your mobile device, that's a good thing as well. But by the sounds of it, it won't affect players who usually put their mobile device face down. It would only affect those players who don't do that. So I'm guessing the game is just going to be designed to dim the screen no matter what position you put it in. And of course, some text. Now this is the interesting part. There's going to be a rebalance of recipes and dishes in this game. And they mainly affect green grass soybean dishes, Why is it that they chose to buff mainly green grass soybean dishes? I'm not actually 100% sure. Is there a plan for an ingredient specialist that would replace Golem as the main soybeans farmer? Or did they always think that soybean farming was too abundant relative to the dishes that need them? Regardless, there are 3 major changes to each of these beans recipes: the recipe itself, the pot size needed, and the recipe bonus. And you should know that all 3 factors play a role in improving the strength of the dish, so much so that some of these dishes are power creeping the current top dishes. So let's take a look at what I mean by that, because we can break down these numbers more than meets the eye. So first of all, in Ninja Curry, which normally uses 15 green grass soybeans, it will now use 24 green grass soybeans instead. Instead of 9 leeks, it will now use 12 leeks instead. Between these 2 ingredients, the pot size is increased by a total of 12. It started with 38 as the pot size, adding 12 is a total pot size of 50, which means free-to-play players, even without a good camp ticket or a cooking power-up, can still cook this dish as long as you have the current maximum pot size, which is 57. Now, what's interesting is that when you add the extra ingredients that's been added to this dish, they don't actually match the strength difference. The improvement of the actual strength of the dish is a lot bigger than the number of ingredients being added. And that's because there's one more thing that's changed, and that is the recipe bonus. Previously, Ninja Curry is 25% recipe bonus, meaning that if you add up all the base strength of each of the ingredient in the dish, then add 25% of all of these ingredients added together, then you get this dish strength. Of course, as you level up the dish, it gets even better, but we're just talking about the base dish strength here. But if you take the new recipe of the Ninja Curry, which uses more soybeans and more leeks, and you multiplied by the base strength of each of these ingredients and added them all up, you get 6,382 base ingredient strength. The dish itself is 9,445. And if you take this and divide it by this, there is an extra 48%, meaning that the recipe bonus has gone up as well. So every ingredient is worth more in this dish, not just the extra ingredients. So it used to be 25%, now it's 48%. Now, you might recall that the current top recipe bonus that you can get in any dish is 48%. So that's really good news for Ninja Curry. In fact, if we take a look and compare it to the other 2 top meta dishes, we're going to ignore Tailed Curry, which is a different beast on its own. But if we were to compare it to Inferno Corn Keema Curry and Dream Eater Butter Curry, the 9,445 base dish strength is actually stronger than the Dream Eater Butter Curry base dish strength. And it costs you only 50 ingredients to get there, meaning that Ninja Curry is overall stronger than Dream Eater Butter Curry because it needs less ingredients to provide you with more strength, giving you more space for extra ingredients as well. Of course, the catch is that leek and mushrooms remain to be the more difficult to farm ingredients. By comparison, Blastoise could do cacao and milk, Absol can do cacao, Victreebel can do potato, and a number of Pokemon can do tomatoes. Dream Eater Butter Curry is relatively easy to farm. If you're using Gengar for mushrooms, well, you'll be left over with extra herbs. Of course, you could use those herbs for Inferno Keema Corn Curry. So I guess if you have a mix of different dishes that you want to cook, then it's not a problem. As for leeks though, we have Duck Trio and Ditto. Now regarding oil, Ditto farms oil as its base ingredient, and Duck Trio does tomatoes. Between the 2, I'd say that tomato has more use in curry dishes. So maybe use Duck Trio plus Gengar then a Charizard, and Golem or Tyranitar in order to complete your Ninja Curry. I didn't compare Ninja Curry to Corn Keema Curry because Keema Curry requires a 77 pot size, which means that you either need to run a good camp ticket constantly, or you need to bring cooking power up Pokemon, which means the rest of your team needs to farm even more ingredients. So Keema Curry remains to be more of a pay-to-play strategy. For free-to-play players, Ninja Curry and Dream Eater Butter Curry can be alternated depending on what you can farm the best. So if the recipe bonus of Ninja Curry went up, what about the other 3 dishes? And indeed, all the other 3 dishes also went up in their recipe bonus and the ingredients needed. Let's now take a look at Ninja Salad, which is also now at 48% recipe bonus, and previously it was 35%. Now Ninja Salad is not as big of a jump as Ninja Curry because previously Ninja Curry was 25% only. Also, Ninja Salad uses more of the pot. In fact, it uses the limit of current free-to-play no expand pot size, which is 57. At 11,659 base dish strength, it now actually overtakes the strongest salad dish in the game, which is green grass salad, which uses corn and has a bigger pot size. So in other words, once again, for a smaller pot size, the same recipe bonus, and you don't need to expand the pot, you can now cook the strongest salad dish in the game. That is Ninja Salad. Once again though, the catch is that you need to farm some rarer ingredients like leek and mushrooms. Unfortunately, there's less use of herbs in salads. So if you're farming mushrooms with your Gengar, you might have some excess herbs. Sure, you could keep it for your Slowpoke tail dish or maybe some other weaker dishes as well, but it's just not going to be as efficient as in the case of curries. As for leek farming, you can use either Ditto or Duck Trio or both because the extra ingredients that you don't need for Ninja Salad can be used in green grass salad, and that's oil and tomatoes. Now, within salads, a second dish is getting buffed, and that's the water veal tofu salad. To be totally honest with you, I'm not really sure what the benefit of that is. The only way I can see it is maybe for new players, at least if they only have beans and tomatoes, they would get a little bit more strength, but otherwise it's still a very weak dish. With a pot size of 24, now getting 25% recipe bonus as opposed to 11%, providing you 3100 base dish strength, which is weaker than contrary chocolate meat salad. So if you have enough ingredients, just cook something stronger. So I think for the majority of players, the buff on the tofu salad doesn't really change anything. And lastly, we have Huge Power Soy Donuts. With these changes, it's actually getting a 35% recipe bonus, previously 17, at a pot size of 35, and the new dish strength is 5500. With those numbers, Huge Power Soy Donut gets placed somewhere between Explosion Popcorn and Neroli's Restorative Tea at 5500 strength and relatively okay to farm ingredients. If you don't have corn yet and you're unable to cook these giant dishes over here, then it may make sense actually to cook Huge Power Soy Donuts because with its 35 pot size, because with its 35 recipe size and its 5500 strength, it would be at the top of all of the remaining desserts sitting right here. So there's some argument for Huge Power Soy Donuts buff to be used. So somehow that kind of makes sense, is that some people will find some use in Huge Power Soy Donuts. But for long-term players, I don't think this buff changes their dessert week much at all. And it's largely because beans aren't really used in desserts anyway. So all in all, there are some rebalances in the game. It's mostly buffs. These are mostly beneficial, but I don't think anyone needs to completely change the way they farm ingredients and cook just yet. Because even though some of these dishes are a touch stronger than current dishes, the ingredients are harder to farm. However, the main argument now to cook these dishes is actually to raise their recipe levels. Because you don't know at what point maybe Ninja Salad will get another buff. And if you've already raised those recipe levels, then you can relax the moment it becomes meta relevant. So my general tip for you guys is to try and get your recipe levels up to level 50 plus on several of the top dishes, in case in the future their strengths get rebalanced. The good news is you get to continue to power up the same old dish that you've been leveling up since the start of the game. The bad news is, well, anything can happen from this point on. Who knows, maybe one day suddenly bulk up bean curry will be the top dish. I mean, however unlikely that might be, it's a possibility now that they've made this kind of change. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below about these changes in the recipes. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.